Welcome back, Deep Review TV viewers. It's Chris Nichols here, and with the holiday season fast approaching, Jordan and I thought we would give you another one of our buyer's guides where we tell you what we would personally choose under a certain price point. Now, today's price point is under $500 USD. So who's this video going to be good for? Well, let's say that you're just on a budget, but you want to get a good start into photography or videography, or maybe you're a smartphone user, but you're ready to get a camera that gives you some creative control, maybe some manual capabilities, or even an experienced photographer who just wants an affordable backup camera or just a change from what they're normally using day to day. Well, I think this video is going to be interesting for you. Now, the weather outside is pretty rough, so we're going to stay indoors. It's great. We're going to be on the laptop shopping in US dollars. And so we're actually going to go with Glazer's Camera today. They're a fantastic camera store located right in downtown Seattle, and they're only a couple blocks away from the Deep Review offices. So for all the Seattle-based staff, this is their local camera store. So of course I go on here, I start searching for prices, and right away, the cameras that I really wanted, it's tough because they're just out of budget. I mean, I like mirrorless. A Canon EOS M200 kit, it's $50 too much. Or Nikon D3500 kit as an entry-level SLR, I think that'd be a great choice, but it's out of budget. So much of these things are like $600 or less. But here we go. What did I find? Well, there was the Canon PowerShot G9X Mark II, and I do like the concept of these 1-inch sensor cameras. Fortunately, I did find that lens a little bit soft when reviewing it, so I kept on looking. But then I did find something that was under budget, the Panasonic LX10. Now, this is a really compelling camera because first off, they're actually usually quite expensive, but there's great pricing right now. And the lens on it, it's brighter than anything you'll find on a Sony RX100. It's sharper than the GX9's lens. And this is on a 1-inch sensor at the wide end, a 1.4 aperture. I mean, that's pretty impressive. The touchscreen interface is good. I can even do selfies. And honestly, they're pretty sexy looking and pocketable camera. But, you know, then I'm like, well, the LX10, it has manual control, but it's limited, doesn't have a viewfinder. I really want to have that APS-C sensor. I really want to have interchangeable lenses. A mirrorless camera would be ideal, but I'm just not finding anything under budget to suit my needs. But then I'm like, you know what? What about an SLR? I mean, why don't I just like go Canon EOS Rebel T7? It's under budget. I know the sensor, it's good quality. It's a kit lens, yes, but the 1855 is decent. And although the interface is very limited, I'm gonna get things like full manual control. I'm gonna get things like an optical viewfinder. I mean, these are nice things to have. And the only problem is my pride, because of course I've been given a lot of SLR users, especially Rebel users with that kit lens, kind of a hard time, even though when people ask me what camera should I get for an affordable price, I usually end up recommending a Rebel. Oh, can I swallow my pride? I don't know, I gotta think about it, but let's go over to Jordan and see what he's chosen.
Okay, so now it's my turn to look through the Glazer site and figure out what camera I would get for under $500. And right off the start, I mean, I can afford a camcorder, but I don't want one at this price. They're going to be 1080 only. There's going to be no electronic viewfinder, and I've never really enjoyed holding a camera like this, even though I know it's been the standard forever. If I'm just looking for the biggest sensor that I can get for this price, it's going to be a Canon T7, but again, we're just doing 1080 video recording. There's no mic input, and let's be honest, it's almost 2022. We really should be past using DSLRs for video at this point. Oh, now this is interesting. So there's a Panasonic FZ300, which will get me a really big zoom, but it's got a constant 2.8 aperture. I think this is a better camcorder than the camcorder I was looking at. Electronic viewfinder on this. It does shoot 4K. It's got a little zoom rocker on it, and it's a pretty compelling option, but at the wide angle, the range I'm typically shooting, my cell phone's still going to have better image quality, but it might be fun to dabble with the telephoto. But let's keep looking here. Okay, now this is really interesting. If I want something that'll do stuff that my smartphone definitely can't, that new GoPro Hero Black 10, that's going to get me 5K at 60 frames per second, so I can do 5K slow motion with it. And if I want to go crazy with the slow-mo, this has 4K 120. And it's an ultra-wide field of view. That's going to be the real downside. And I like wide shooting, but I don't tend to do a lot of ultra-wide, but it might be worth just having that slow motion functionality with this. That's a really cool option too. I'm going to think about this for a little bit, make my choice, and go meet up with Chris, see what he picked as well.
So Jordan, there was actually a really difficult decision because in my heart I actually really wanted the Panasonic LX10. I've used the camera before and enjoyed it. I like the image quality. I like the manual control. It's pretty easy to use with that touch screen, but I was also thinking, when we're talking about no limit budgets or really big budgets, there's a bit of room to, have some fun or make some choices that are more for your personal preference. But I was thinking, honestly, it kind of does a disservice because when you're at $500, every dollar has to count. And I got to think about what's going to give me the best bang for the buck and the biggest difference in experience from something I probably already own, like my smartphone. And so in that regard, I think the Canon EOS Rebel T7 kit gives me versatility in the future, gives me full manual control, and that's the way I'm going to go.
And where is it?
Oh, the camera that I'm supposed
the one
to show.
that you're supposed to demonstrate.
Yeah, the one I picked.
The
So,
dramatic reveal.
okay, so they're in stock online in a lot of places, no problem. But I couldn't find one in the local area. Couldn't find an LX10 for that matter either. They're completely gone. So, here's the thing. I know we've made fun of the kit lenses on these before, but frankly, even though it's a slower lens with the larger sensor, I'm basically going to get comparable shallow depth of field to what the LX10 and its kit lens would give me. On top of that, though, of course, I have the versatility that I could go buy more lenses, as I get more money in the future, get some prime lenses, extend my range to longer telephotos, something my smartphone still cannot do. And so I think if somebody wants to get into photography, get good image quality, have some future proofing, have an OVF, an optical viewfinder. That's another big change over what my smartphone can do. And I grew up loving those. I still love them as much as we talk about mirrorless. It's odd that I'm actually going with an SLR here, but I think it just makes the most sense.
I think that makes perfect sense for you for photography, but I'm looking at other cameras for video, and I gotta say, this price point I really struggled at, just like you did, Chris, and there's not a ton of new options available, so I'm gonna give something up. And I wanna clear up a misconception. A lot of people are gonna say, well, he's always gonna prioritize the bigger sensor and the best image quality, but that's actually not gonna be the case. I'm going with the FZ300. So yeah, I could go with something like the T7 if I want shallower depth of field, or a GoPro if I want better image quality. But I really want something that's just gonna really be different from my smartphone. Having this huge zoom range with a constant 2.8 aperture and a power zoom means I could actually zoom during a clip. We've never seen that effect in DP Review TV history. Could be really interesting, but it's still very functional for photography. I'm impressed that it has the option to take raw photos. I love having a viewfinder, and the ergonomics are just very comfortable. I could see if I'm going out to record video or just take some casual stills, I might actually prefer bringing this and leaving the smartphone at home. But I would never do that, because then how would people contact me?
So what I found most interesting, but also kind of difficult about this challenge is that although the smartphone has changed the industry as a whole in such a big way, this price point is where the smartphone has really hit hardest. The gear that we're looking at in a lot of cases is still 3 or 4 years old. There aren't any really new cameras coming out in these price points. There are still some interesting choices if you want to get into photography, and we really went with things that were different from what your smartphone can do. I think that's really the way you want to look at it. We've got a lot of feedback on possibly doing a used episode, and I think that's a great idea. So let us know what kind of price points you'd want to see us do. What would I kit myself out with then? That might actually be a really interesting video. Now, as always, please leave comments below. We always appreciate the feedback. Please subscribe, like the channel, and we shall see you guys very soon with another episode of DP Review TV.